Welcome to Eerie Enigmas, where we dive into the darkest corners of reality to uncover the most spine-chilling tales. Tonight, we bring you the top 10 scariest stories real people tell, as featured in Reader's Digest. These are first-hand accounts of terror that will leave you questioning what lies beyond the shadows. Our first story comes from a woman who woke up in the middle of the night to find a stranger standing at the foot of her bed. The man was wearing a hat, and his face was obscured by shadows. As she screamed, he vanished without a trace. The police found no signs of forced entry. In another tale, a young couple decided to go camping in a remote forest. In the dead of night, they heard whispers outside their tent. When they unzipped the flap, they saw shadowy figures moving between the trees. They packed up and left immediately, vowing never to return. A man shared his experience of working late at an old, supposedly haunted office building. As he was about to leave, he heard a child's laughter echoing down the empty hallway. He checked every room, but found no one. The next day, he discovered that a child had died in that building years ago. One night, a teenager was driving home on a lonely road when he saw a figure in white standing on the roadside. He stopped to offer help, but as he approached, the figure disappeared. Later, he learned that a woman in white had been killed in an accident on that very spot years before. A family recounted their experience in a new house. Every night they heard heavy breathing and footsteps coming from the attic. When they finally gathered the courage to investigate, they found old, dusty photographs of a man who had lived there decades ago, a man who had died mysteriously. A young woman shared her tale of working the night shift at a hospital. She saw an old woman in a hospital gown wandering the halls. When she approached to help, the old woman vanished into thin air. Later, she found out that the old woman had passed away in the hospital many years ago. A man recalled a terrifying encounter during a hiking trip. As he set up camp for the night, he heard eerie chanting in the distance. The chanting grew louder and closer until it suddenly stopped. The next morning, he found strange symbols carved into the trees around his campsite. A woman described her experience of being home alone when she heard a knock on the door. She opened it to find no one there. This happened several times throughout the night. She later learned that a previous tenant had been murdered on her doorstep. In another unsettling account, a man woke up in the middle of the night to find himself paralyzed. He felt a heavy weight on his chest and saw a dark figure looming over him. He couldn't move or scream until the figure disappeared. Doctors told him it was sleep paralysis, but he remains unconvinced. Finally, a couple shared their story of moving into an old farmhouse. They would often hear music playing from an antique piano in the living room. When they entered the room, the music would stop. They later discovered that the previous owner, a pianist, had died in that very room. These stories remind us that the line between reality and the supernatural is often blurred. Are these just figments of overactive imaginations, or do they hint at something more? Join us next time on Eerie Enigmas as we continue to explore the unknown. Until then, sleep well, if you can.